Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful technologies out there, machine learning. Now, if you're a manager, this is for you. We're going to break down what it is, how it works, and most importantly, why it's something you really need to understand for your business. Let's dive in.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the machine learning you're already using every single day. Then we'll get into what it actually is. We'll cover the 3 main ways machines learn, walk through a super practical 5-step blueprint for any ML project, and then see how it's shaking up entire industries. And we'll wrap up with a big question, just for you. All right, first up, the magic in your apps. Because here's the thing, before we get bogged down in any technical jargon, you need to realize you're already an expert user of machine learning. You just might not know it yet.
I mean, think about it. You finish binge-watching a series and bam! Netflix serves up a recommendation that feels like it was picked just for you. How on earth does it do that?
Or what about Amazon? It suggests a product you were literally just thinking about. It's not reading your mind, I promise. It's just incredibly good at spotting patterns.
And Spotify. That Discover Weekly playlist is uncanny, right? It just gets you, introducing you to new music that perfectly fits your vibe. It feels like you have a personal DJ working for you 24/7.
It's the very same brain power at work when Google Maps tells you to take a side street to avoid a traffic jam that just formed. The common thread connecting all of this? It's not magic, it's machine learning, a system that gets smarter by learning from data.
So how does all this magic actually happen? Well, that brings us right to our next section, learning without explicit rules. Let's peel back the layers and define what we're really talking about here.
Okay, here's the core idea in a nutshell. Machine learning is all about letting computers learn directly from data, so they can make decisions or predictions without a human programmer having to write out every single rule by hand. That last part is the key. The machine figures out the rules all by itself.
You know, this is a huge shift from how things used to be done. With traditional programming, a person writes the logic. If this happens, then do that. It's totally rigid. If you want to change it, you have to rewrite the code. But with machine learning, you flip that on its head. You feed the system a ton of data, examples of what you want, and it learns the patterns on its own. It's completely data-driven, and this is crucial, it's adaptable. The more data you give it, the better it gets.
Okay, so if we're saying these machines learn, how do they actually do it? Well, it turns out there are 3 main approaches, or you could call them flavors, of machine learning. Let's break them down.
First up, we have supervised learning. This is the most common type you'll run into. The best analogy is teaching a toddler with flashcards. You show the machine a picture of a cat and you tell it, this is a cat. Then a picture of a dog and you say, this is a dog. You give it tons and tons of labeled examples to learn from.
So in the business world, this is a powerhouse for 2 main things: classifying stuff and predicting stuff. Think about your email inbox. It's classifying messages as spam or not spam. Or it can predict a number, like the future price of a house, based on things like its size, location, and so on.
Next up, we have unsupervised learning. Now this is different. You don't give the machine any labels or answers. You just hand it a giant, messy pile of data and say, find something interesting in here. It's kind of like telling someone to organize a really cluttered room without any instructions. They'd naturally start putting similar things together.
And this is where you can find those aha moments. Unsupervised learning is fantastic for finding hidden groups or structures. The classic business example is customer segmentation. It can automatically find natural groups of your customers based on how they shop, which lets you target your marketing way more effectively.
And the third flavor is reinforcement learning. This one is super cool. It's all about learning from trial and error. You have a machine, or an agent, that interacts with some environment. It gets rewards for good actions and penalties for bad ones. It's exactly like learning to play a video game. You try stuff, see if you get points or lose a life, and you get better over time.
The whole goal is to figure out the best sequence of actions to get the biggest possible reward in the long run. This is the tech behind AIs that can master complex games like chess or Go. But it's not just for games. It can be used for really practical things, like optimizing a city's traffic light grid to make everyone's commute a little bit shorter.
So let's just quickly put that all together. Supervised learning, you give it labeled data to predict outcomes. Unsupervised, you give it unlabeled data to find hidden patterns. And reinforcement learning, it learns from a cycle of actions and rewards. See? 3 different tools for 3 very different types of problems.
Okay, the theory is great, right? But how do you actually do any of this? How does a machine learning project go from an idea to a real thing? Well, that's what we're talking about next. The practical, 5-step blueprint that pretty much every project follows.
Look, pretty much every successful ML project follows these 5 steps, and step 1, problem definition, is where you as a manager are absolutely essential. Your job is to define a crystal clear business problem, not a tech problem. Reduce customer churn by 5%. That's a great goal. Let's use AI. That's not a goal. Step 2 is data prep. And just a heads up, this often takes up 80% of the time and effort. It's a huge lift. Then comes model building, testing, and finally deployment into the real world. It's a clear, repeatable process that you can absolutely manage.
So now, let's zoom out to the big picture. Because machine learning isn't just some niche tech for startups. No, this is a full-on business revolution. It is fundamentally changing how companies work in every single industry.
And while it might feel like it all happened overnight, the ideas have been kicking around for decades, since the 1950s. What changed? Well, 2 things. We now have astronomical amounts of data and the insane computing power to process it. That's what took us from old theories to today's deep learning revolution that's reshaping, well, everything.
And, the impact is everywhere. In finance, it's stopping fraud before it happens. In healthcare, it's helping doctors diagnose diseases earlier from medical scans. HR departments are using it to screen thousands of resumes. And in retail and operations, it's the engine behind everything from product recommendations to predicting when a vital piece of factory equipment is about to break down.
Okay, that brings us to our final section. And this one isn't about the tech. It's about you. It's about your role as a manager in this entirely new landscape.
So, we've seen that machine learning really just comes down to teaching a computer to do something by showing it a bunch of examples. That's it. So the final, and I think the most important question, is this. Now that you get the basic idea and you've seen the 5-step plan, what problems in your world could you teach a machine to solve? Because that's where the real magic begins.